Gen Z is fucking cooked. To say the least, man. To say the fucking least. We are so cooked. Um and I mean maybe Gen Alpha is even more cooked, but like I'm just gonna speak from like what I know most about, which is Gen Z, because I'm part of it. We are absolutely fucked in every single way. I mean, and I'm about to sit here and break down all the ways, I guess, or at least some of the ways. The primary ways we're fucked, but like there's so many that I'm not even gonna be able to mention because there's just it's just a plethora of fucked. But let's talk about the main points. First and foremost, the economy. We all kind of know this one, right? It is like the obvious one that we're all sort of dealing with since Gen Z has started to get out of high school. Um, I just don't really know where that guy was turning. I don't really see a like a oh man, just spinning out. It's a drift car, so it's just gonna be really bad on this water. It's gonna be hydroplaning basically. Um, like as Gen Z has been graduating, in the last couple years or whatever you want to say, um, we've been sort of going into the real world, and we've been feeling this economy and we've been feeling the job market, and all of it's been feeling really bad, to say the least. There obviously are some outliers. There are some people that have had good, good luck or good fortune, whatever you want to say, in terms of starting their careers and getting a decent job and making money and yada yada yada, right? Like there's actually been some people that have multiple job prospects, and yeah, like obviously, but I'm seeing a large contingent of Gen Z on TikTok, whatever it is, and they're doing nothing short of complaining, and rightfully complaining. I'm not saying here, I'm not going to be like a boomer, but all they want to do is sit here and complain. They won't work, because I know Gen Z, we will work. We just won't work for stupid, when the livable income, like the actual income you need to live life, is at what, 23 an hour, I think, in Michigan right now. That's where I live, in Michigan. And the average person between 18 and 25 earns 20 an hour, which even that is hard to get to. But the average livable income to just be on your own in a one bedroom apartment is 23 an hour. It's like, okay, so the average person is not making a livable income. Like that's fucked, and that's why you see so many Gen Z, living with their parents and such like that. And it's like, you can call them pathetic, but you need to take a look at the actual numbers, and you need to realize that it doesn't even make logical sense for Gen Z to be moving out of their parents' house, until as late as possible, so they can store up enough money and make and get raises and advance their careers, do their side hustles, whatever it is. The side hustle culture has never been so big. We literally have to, because these jobs do not pay us enough to live. And the boomers will say, oh, you're buying all these luxury items, you don't need a TV, you don't need a, you're paying for this Netflix and your coffee at Starbucks. And it's like, yeah, but like even if I cut all that, I still can't make my bills. So I don't know what you want, dude. Like, you don't understand, Gen Z is the most educated generation, and yet we can't seem to, like, we're basically being told that we're just bad with finances. And it's like, don't get me wrong, we definitely are. Like, there's definitely a lot of us that don't understand how a credit card works. I don't really know why, because there was a finance class that pretty much everyone had to take, and even if you didn't, you had to take math. And if you took math, you understand numbers. But I digress on that, right? The point is that we are very educated, and yet we seem to be being called almost dumb, for not being able to survive in this economy by people that aren't really in this economy. Like they've been at their job for 30 years and they're collecting a pension and they're getting paid 40 an hour to, make a spreadsheet that we know how to make in 20 minutes, and it takes them 4 hours to make it, but we can make it in 20 minutes because we actually have a brain. It's just, the people, right? The people that are just getting paid like 100K to do nothing. Just like sit around in an office and eat donuts. You know what I'm talking about. But just moving away from that, the economy as a whole, we all know, is just really bad. The housing market, that's a huge one. It's terrible right now, man. The rate of salary increase to the rate of housing price increase is just not even comparable, dude. It's just like, it's so skewed. It's so fucked. I've tried to do the math even for myself of like, okay, how can I afford a house? And as one person, I will never be able to do it. like, never. The only way to do it is if I got if I went to college right now when I'm 20, I do a 4-year degree in a very specific field. Like, you can't just pick whatever, you actually are passionate about. No, you have to pick like an actual very specific field. Get extremely good at what you want to do, because there's a bunch of people doing that one field because the economy is so fucked that you have to. So it's like, okay, now that I've gone 4 years and now that I've proven that I'm better than everybody else at this field, and now that I'm finally hired, I'm started at 17 an hour because I'm new, and then even if I do it extremely well for the next 2 to 3 years, now I'm up to like 25, maybe 30 an hour, and it's like, okay, now I get an average living. Now I can afford a 1-bedroom apartment. Obviously I'm glossing over some things here, but like, I think my point still stands, dude. Like, it's really bad out here. But I do want to mention what's making it far worse still is the Gen Z mentality. This is what is actually, dude, I don't know where that guy is planning on going. The Gen Z mentality is something that is so unbelievably dangerous, and it's had so many terrible effects that we don't even like think about it anymore. And I made a video talking about like having something genuine. I've talked about that a little bit, but it's truly like this society that has been built over the past, I want to say like 10 to 20 years, has just completely destroyed any kind of authenticity between us, any kind of actual bonds that aren't made for superficial reasons or to get something in return. It's always like everyone's trying to just get a leg up on each other. No one is trying to have meaningful dialogue. No one is actually creating bonds with each other. No one is being honest about themselves, both in a positive and negative light. It's all bad, man. We're putting off these fake images on social media, and then we're consuming these fake images. We assume that these people that are posting their vacations, that's what their life always looks like, and we feel inadequate because our life doesn't look like that, and they're always smiling and we're not smiling in life. So oh my god, we're so depressed. Sometimes you can even get this type of depression where you are only depressed because you're not as happy as everyone else and you think you should be. But here's the thing, you don't understand that they're not actually as happy as you believe. You don't understand that it's normal to not be happy all the time. Happiness is a rare emotion. If happiness was common, it wouldn't be happy anymore. It wouldn't be a great thing. Like, feeling happy for me is such a rare thing that when it happens, it's such a strong feeling of ecstasy. Whereas if it happened every single day, it would just kind of start to feel dull, But yeah, I think that we just have this really skewed mindset. Just society as a whole is just skewed. Nothing is real. Nothing is genuine. I've talked about in the last video, and that is a huge, huge problem, man. It is creating look at the depression rates, the anxiety, the rates of people claiming they have I have ADHD and OCD and I have anxiety and I have depression. It's like, dude, a lot of these people just don't know what to do. Like, a lot of these people are just getting symptoms of these, more chronic mental illnesses, but they don't understand that it's not actually the mental illness itself, or at least it most likely isn't, because it's not that common to have those things. It's actually a byproduct of your circumstances that you just don't have an answer for. The human brain is not designed for any of this. None of this makes sense. Like, from a survival standpoint, from a standpoint of like what the last 99% of human history has looked like, none of this adds up, to the brain. The brain doesn't know what to do. Like, if you talk to anyone who actually understands the human brain, on a scientific level, they will tell you that, like, when you are getting hate from the internet, like, let's say you post something and people are like calling you ugly in the comments or something, or stupid, whatever, it is the same as like being cast out of your tribe when you were in tribal times, obviously thousands of years ago, and cast out of your tribe meant alone, and alone meant death. So like your brain literally recognizes these text messages that you're getting, these negative, mean messages as death. They take it as a literal threat to your life, and that is why you're feeling such anxiety. That's why you feel such depression when certain things happen. And that is literally the reason for it, is because your brain doesn't understand the difference. Your brain doesn't understand the severity of the situation is not what it actually believes it to be, because your brain is not you. But that's obviously a more complex conversation, right? But yeah, just tying it all up, when we talk about the economy, when we talk about our own just generation in our society and how it's just negatively declining into this fakeness and this weird, I hate this weird, like, it's cool not to give a fuck. Like, it's cool to just be like, man, I don't care. Like, lol. Like, I'm just a chill guy. I'm just chilling, not really doing much. Like, I hate this weird energy of like, oh, I don't want to tell anyone. Like, it's like you don't want anyone to know that you're trying, or you don't even want to try. Maybe you're just not trying in general because you don't want to be seen failing, and you don't want to be seen as cringe. You don't want to be seen as someone that's not fitting the mold and that everyone else is. You don't want to be seen as someone that is going against the grain here. And because a lot of times going against the grain means failing, especially at first. And you don't want to be seen as a failure. You don't want to stand out in that way. So you just kind of become content with blending into the background and not standing out. And it's like, I was going to say that's fine to a point, but no, it's not. It's just not fine. It's a completely skewed mindset. And trust me, I had this mindset for years and years and years of my life. Dude, I always believed that I would just fade into the background and I was fine just, kind of acting like everything was normal and not really engaging with anybody, and that's how you become isolated. That's how you feel lonely and depressed, and that's how you start putting a fucking knife to your wrist, because no matter what you do, you cannot escape the fact that we are social creatures. We are creatures that crave relationships and connections. We care. We want to be with somebody. We want to be with people. We want to be known. We want to be understood. And that is just an irrefutable truth, right? No matter how many times you want to fucking dress it up as something different, or you want to obfuscate it, or you want to play it off, or you want to act like you don't care, we all know you do. And you know you do, deep down. And I think the way that we get out of this mess, which I don't know exactly how we're going to do it. I don't actually even know if it's possible. You'll see a lot of people are, moving countries, moving to fucking Japan, moving to Switzerland, moving Norway, just all kinds of cool places they're moving because they feel like they need just a change of scenery. And, that might actually be true. Maybe just get away from the people of this generation that are, poisoning it or whatever you want to say. But, like, I think if we want to fix the society as a whole, I'm talking about Western civilization, obviously. If we want to fix it as a whole, it kind of just begins with our own outlook on life. We cannot be living in this way of nonchalantness. We cannot be glorifying apathy and pessimism and the lack of care or consideration for anyone or anything. We should not be supporting the death of individualism. We should be, I don't know. There's definitely just some things that are easier said than done, right? It's pretty hard to change society on on an actual macro level and change it like specifically to something that you want to happen, because that's just not. Engineering society is very, very, I don't even know if it's possible. I think the people that have done it are definitely higher up on the echelon of power than I am. Or any YouTuber or actor, influencer is. I think those are the ones probably calling the shots, telling the influencers what to support, what not to support. I'd say whoever those dudes are probably the ones responsible for this to a degree. Another thing that is heavily destroying our generation is the algorithms. Dopamine addiction. Just, I mean, we can just kind of use TikTok brain as an example. It is genuinely a cancer of the brain. It is eating away attention span. It's eating away passion and discipline and just any positive any power you have in your mind is being eaten away literally by it. I've seen this with my own friends. You know, their screen time is insanely high. They get sucked in. They don't even realize what's going on around them. And then if you ask them what, you know, what they just watched for the past hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, they couldn't really tell you. You know, that's my biggest quarrel with short form content is like, it's not even anything that you retain. Like it's not even, because you know I used to be addicted to YouTube a lot, and I'm addicted to anime nowadays. But I retain everything that I watch from animes. Animes can teach me actual life lessons. Like there is some sort of innate value other than just entertainment that I get from watching anime. But that's just not true of TikTok. You don't learn anything from it. You don't get anything. There's the only thing you get is your time taken from you. You know, you are just losing your lifespan in return for nothing, you know? And that's just not a good deal, to say the least. So what have we gone over? We've gone over the economy, the general state of affairs when it comes to our generation's mentality towards life, and then the algorithms and social media destroying our brains, you know, the fucking Instagram reels and the TikToks, you know. Other than that, I don't really have that much else to say. So I think those three things are pretty much the most integral points of why Gen Z is fucking doomed and why I honestly think there are going to be very few people from Gen Z that truly escape it, you know, escape the fate of dying in obscurity and dying without any of your dreams fulfilled, you know, or dying without feeling fulfilled, dying without providing value to the world or your loved ones, you know. I think that that's probably the number one fear for me anyway. And I think that it's probably going to be something that Gen Z is really going to struggle with. And honestly, I think the real solution is going to have to be made by someone much smarter than me. Anyways, guys, it's been your boy Dylan, and yeah, Gen Z is fucking cooked.